Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. I get more questions about chatterbaits and vibrating jigs than any other technique out there. It really does seem like it is a technique that either you kind of start to master or you struggle with, because as much as it is a bait you can cast and straight retrieve back to the boat, the reality is, if you do that, you're probably only getting 10% of the bites that you should be able to get with a vibrating jig. So, because I get so many questions from viewers out there regarding a vibrating jig and how to become better at it, I figured I'd do a simple tip video about things that you can do to improve your overall success the next time you go out and throw a vibrating jig. The first thing that I want to point out is that a vibrating jig can be fished right out of the package, but I think there's a couple of things that you want to do to it to make it better. The first is to simply trim about half of the skirt material from the inside of your skirt. So hopefully you can see I've trimmed about half of that. Now that's going to do a couple of things for you. The first, it's going to make your skirt a little bit less full, which is going to make not only your skirt material breathe better and actually undulate in the water, it's going to also help the movement of your trailer. It's going to help the movement of the bait, move the trailer, and more than anything, because you have less water displacement to occur, you're going to get better movement out of the bait as a whole. And the one thing we know about a vibrating jig is that the more that that bait can dart and move to the side, the more reaction strikes you're going to get. That's where it really shines. If you just have a straight retrieve where it's just vibrating back to you, generally doesn't get nowhere near as many bites. So what I like to do is try to enhance the bait to move better. So by trimming some of the skirt material out, that's going to really help get more motion out of the trailer, more motion out of your skirt, and allow the bait to move back and forth more. So that's the first thing that I like to do. The second has to do with my trailer. I really like to choose a trailer that's a straight tail. I don't want a boot tail. I don't want anything with flappers, because that's going to act as brakes to the bait. A straight tail minnow will allow the bait to have that erratic darting motion side to side when you snap the rod or when you hit and deflect off something. A straight tail will allow you to have more movement than, say, a boot tail swim bait or a bait that has flappers on it. That's going to act as brakes. It's going to want to hold your bait in place versus really allowing it to move back and forth. So I do honestly feel like a straight tail is a much better choice. Something along the lines of this Berkeley Power Stinger, one of my absolute favorite trailers. Just a really good bait at allowing the bait to move as fast and as free as the angler needs it to generate additional strikes. So once you've got the bait kind of dialed in, at that point, it really comes down to the angler's ability to impart action. So the first thing is, you don't want to straight retrieve it. I've said it multiple times now in this video. You do not want to straight retrieve it. You want to allow this bait to hit items, whether that is weeds, wood, dock posts. And if you're not deflecting off objects, you want to be snapping your rod tip. You want to be stopping the reel handle to allow the bait to fall. You want this bait constantly moving. You do not want it to just come straight back to the boat. So it's really on the angler at that point to impart as much action as possible. And with that, one of the keys is to deflect off as much cover as possible. So if you're fishing around grass, let the bait fall down in the grass so you can rip it out of the grass. If you're fishing around stumps, deflect off the stumps. If you're fishing around rock, let it bang off the rocks. You really need to make contact, because that contact is what's actually going to stop the blade and create those crazy movements that generate the strikes. So that's one of the most important things. The last thing has to do with your rod. The rod choice is one of the most important rod choices for a specific technique, meaning a lot of techniques you can get away with a basic all around good rod. A vibrating jig really requires a rod that has a slow speed, more of a moderate action to it. You want good backbone, and generally speaking, you want longer length. The reason for that is that longer length will help you make longer casts, but it also really helps you generate power to snap your baits out of the grass. And at the same time, because it is more of a moderate speed action, it allows you to pick up a lot of line to set the hook and therefore get the strike to get the hook home in the fish. One thing that we find with vibrating jigs that happens frequently is the fish hit it, your line goes slack because they're coming at you. And if you use a shorter rod, you don't necessarily get as good a hook set. So a longer rod that is moderate speed, so it's got good soft tip, but it still has backbone to it. A lot of people are using blended action rods for that purpose, and it makes a big difference. The other thing is, again, that longer rod allows you still to generate enough rod speed to create an explosion where you're really ripping this out of some grass. But those are 5 simple tips that you can do that I assure you will put more bass in the boat for you next time you want to go out and throw a vibrating jig like the slobber knocker, if you like the chatterbait, or whichever ones you like to throw. It will help you. I assure you that. This is a technique that I struggled with when I first picked it up, and now I feel like I've gotten to the point where it's a bait I don't want to put down, but it's a lot of the reasons why I just mentioned to you are why I'm having the success I'm having on it. So if you're not catching them, try these. It will help you catch more fish. If you enjoyed today's video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned. We'll have a new video coming out tomorrow.